The icy expanse of Antarctica, a land of perpetual frost and unbroken silence, often evokes images of an empty wilderness, far removed from the chaos of human conflict. To most, it's a desolate, inhospitable place where few ventures survive. Yet, hidden within the cold grip of this vast continent, far beneath the ice, there exists a story so chilling, so unsettling, that it could forever alter our understanding of history. What if Antarctica was not always the empty wasteland we believe it to be? What if, in fact, the frozen tundra was the site of one of the world's most secretive and violent wars, fought not over land or power, but over resources that could reshape the balance of the planet itself? Picture this: a world on the brink of war, the air thick with the tension of global power struggles. The 20th century saw 2 world wars, countless territorial disputes, and a Cold War between superpowers, all fought over one thing: resources. Oil, minerals, and energy have always been the lifeblood of global economies, the driving force behind industries, militaries, and entire nations. But what if there was one place on Earth, a place so remote, so difficult to access, that became the most valuable prize of all? A place that could hold resources far beyond our current imaginations. An untapped bounty so rich it could change the trajectory of human civilization forever. This is where the mystery of Antarctica deepens. While the world's superpowers were embroiled in high-stakes geopolitical rivalries, could they have been aware of something far greater beneath the ice? Something so vital that the frozen landscape became more than just a scientific curiosity, more than a research station, more than just a no-go zone for international treaties? Could Antarctica's true significance have been hidden, its importance concealed from the public eye for decades? In a world where global resources are scarce and the demand for new sources of energy grows ever more desperate, the possibility of a secret war fought on the icy plains of the southernmost continent seems not only plausible but inevitable. To understand how this frozen battlefield came to be, we need to look back at the earliest days of exploration. At the dawn of the 20th century, Antarctica was still a mysterious, largely unexplored landmass. With no known indigenous population, no history of human settlements, and no natural resources in plain view, it seemed like a place untouched by human conflict. Yet, explorers like Ernest Shackleton and Robert Falcon Scott would soon venture into its unforgiving wilderness, each driven by a different purpose. For Shackleton, it was a journey of survival. His ill-fated endurance expedition would later become a symbol of resilience in the face of the harshest conditions. For Scott, it was the pursuit of scientific discovery, the thrill of venturing into the unknown. Yet, despite their heroism and sacrifice, both men would return with far more questions than answers. What did Shackleton and Scott find out there? Could there have been more to their expeditions than just the exploration of a lifeless, frozen landscape? Recent research suggests that even during these early years, explorers stumbled upon strange anomalies. Unexplained objects, bizarre readings from their equipment, and rumors of ancient structures buried beneath the ice. These anomalies, though never fully explained, seem to point to a disturbing truth. Antarctica was not as empty as it appeared. It was as though the land itself was hiding something, a long-buried secret waiting to be uncovered. As the world moved into the 1940s, the urgency surrounding global resource acquisition began to intensify. The Second World War had highlighted just how critical certain resources were to maintaining military strength and technological advancements. Oil was the lifeblood of war machines, coal-fueled industries, and minerals were required for everything from weapons to communications. But what if there was something even more valuable than all of these? Something hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica. The idea that Antarctica could hold a treasure trove of undiscovered resources wasn't just science fiction. It was a notion that began to gain traction as nations looked for new ways to feed their insatiable hunger for power. The end of World War II marked a shift in the geopolitical landscape. with tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union intensifying into what we now call the Cold War. While both superpowers faced off in Europe and Asia, the frozen continent became the new frontier. Here, there were no bombs falling, no armies marching, at least not visibly. Yet, beneath the surface, there was something far more insidious at play. As nations began to set their sights on Antarctica, their motives seemed increasingly unclear. What were they truly after? Was it just science, as they claimed, or was something more dangerous at stake? As the Cold War unfolded, Antarctica seemed to have emerged as a new battleground, one where the spoils of war were not territory or ideological dominance, but something far more intangible, control over the Earth's future. At the same time, a wave of secrecy began to surround the continent. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, was heralded as a triumph of international cooperation, ensuring that Antarctica would be dedicated to peaceful scientific exploration. But was this treaty really about peace, or was it a way to suppress the true significance of Antarctica's resources? What if the treaty was less about ensuring that no one would fight over the land, and more about ensuring that no one would ever discover what lay beneath the ice? In the decades that followed, the narrative around Antarctica became increasingly controlled, as if the world's governments are desperate to keep the secret buried, literally and figuratively. It's this sense of suppression that leads to the heart of the mystery. What are they hiding? What if there was more to the story of Antarctica than we've been told? Could the continent's frozen surface conceal remnants of a conflict, a war waged for control over resources that could revolutionize the world's economy? The theories surrounding this secret war are tantalizing, filled with whispers of advanced technologies, hidden bases, and a global conspiracy to control the Earth's most coveted treasures. What if the Antarctic Treaty wasn't just about preventing war, but about preventing knowledge from leaking into the public consciousness? The deeper you dig, the more unsettling the possibilities become. What if the true battle for the Earth's resources was never fought on the continents we know, but in the cold, untouched wilderness of Antarctica? And what if, over the course of decades, powerful interests have used their control over the continent to shape the course of history, all while keeping the truth hidden in plain sight? There's a chilling thought that lingers, the possibility that the war for the future of the world was not fought in the open, but beneath the very ice that now separates us from the truth. As the layers of history, politics, and intrigue begin to unravel, the frozen battlefields of Antarctica start to take shape. It's a battle we've been blind to, one that has remained buried in the cold silence of the continent for far too long. And as we begin to uncover the long-hidden secrets of Antarctica's past, the question remains, what are we truly dealing with here? Are we on the brink of discovering something that could change the course of human history, or are we merely scratching the surface of a much darker, more dangerous reality? Antarctica, it seems, holds more than just ice and snow. It holds the key to a story that, if revealed, could forever change the way we view our world. The question is, are we ready for the truth? At the beginning of the 20th century, Antarctica was as much a place of wonder as it was of terror, a vast, uncharted wilderness where only the most daring ventured, and those who did were driven by ambition, curiosity, or the pursuit of glory. The South Pole had been a symbol of the unknown, an untouched realm that taunted explorers for centuries. For much of human history, the frozen continent remained invisible, a world not even mapped in detail on most maps, tucked far away in the southernmost reaches of the planet. However, as technology and navigation improved, the isolated mystery began to draw the world's most determined explorers. Among these early adventurers was Robert Falcon Scott, a British naval officer who led an expedition to the South Pole in 1910. His goal was simple yet profoundly ambitious: to be the first man to reach the South Pole. Scott and his team traversed the brutal landscape, battling extreme cold, blizzards, and the ever-present threat of death. But Scott's tragedy was not just one of survival against nature. When he finally reached the South Pole in January 1912, after months of painstaking travel, he found that the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen had beaten him to it. Devastated, Scott and his men began their journey back, but they would never make it. The cold, exhaustion, and unrelenting conditions claimed their lives. Scott's expedition became one of the most famous and tragic stories in the annals of polar exploration. But what many don't realize is that Scott's ill-fated journey also revealed something that would intrigue conspiracy theorists and history buffs alike: the presence of mysterious and unexplained phenomena on the ice. In his journals, Scott made several cryptic references to odd occurrences, strange atmospheric conditions, and unusual formations in the landscape. He and his men were, at times, baffled by what they encountered, be it peculiar rock formations or strange readings on their equipment. While these observations were dismissed by many as the effects of exhaustion or the harsh conditions, the possibility that something more mysterious was at play cannot be entirely ruled out. In 1913, Ernest Shackleton embarked on his own polar adventure, this time to cross the Antarctic continent. His expedition was one of audacity and perseverance. However, Shackleton's journey would turn into a monumental test of survival, as his ship, the Endurance, became trapped in the ice. After months of being frozen in place, Shackleton and his crew made a daring escape, eventually surviving in one of the most miraculous feats of human endurance. Like Scott, Shackleton and his men encountered phenomena that were difficult to explain. While stranded on the ice, Shackleton's crew members described strange, unexplainable lights in the sky and what they described as eerie movements beneath the ice. Although Shackleton's reputation was built on his ability to navigate the extremes of nature and human endurance, these eerie experiences remain part of the broader mystery that surrounds Antarctica. Throughout these early expeditions, both Scott and Shackleton were documenting the Antarctic landscape, trying to make sense of it while surviving its brutal conditions. What they didn't realize was that they were also documenting clues to something much larger, a hidden secret buried deep beneath the ice. For decades, these clues would be lost to history, overshadowed by the tragedies of their expeditions and the advent of modern geopolitical events. Yet, looking back through the lens of today's knowledge, it's clear that Scott and Shackleton's journeys were not just about reaching the South Pole, but about unknowingly brushing against the edges of something far more significant. As the years passed, and the world's political dynamics shifted in the wake of the First World War, the exploration of Antarctica began to take on new urgency. The global superpowers, particularly the United States, the United Kingdom, and later the Soviet Union, began to see Antarctica not as an inhospitable wilderness, but as an untapped resource. Its cold and seemingly barren land hiding valuable minerals and rare earths that could be vital to the future of humanity. As the desire for natural resources intensified, so too did the interest in Antarctica. Countries began sending more frequent expeditions, with scientists and military personnel alike eager to discover what lay beneath the ice. In the years between the two world wars, the prospect of exploiting Antarctica's potential resources began to take shape. However, a pivotal moment in the history of Antarctic exploration would come with the signing of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, which sought to demilitarize the region and promote international cooperation. The treaty, in theory, set Antarctica aside as a peaceful zone dedicated solely to scientific research. But as we now know, this treaty may have been less about preserving Antarctica's pristine environment and more about keeping the rest of the world from discovering what lay hidden there. By locking the continent in a state of perpetual peace, the superpowers ensured that Antarctica's secrets would remain just that, secrets. But the question remains, what exactly were these early explorers hinting at? Could they have known more than they let on? Were Shackleton, Scott, and their contemporaries, in their attempt to conquer the land, also getting too close to uncovering something buried beneath the ice, something dangerous or significant enough to remain hidden for decades? The mystery grows deeper when we consider the peculiar nature of some of the objects and formations that were encountered during these early expeditions. Geophysical anomalies, strange rock formations that didn't fit with the known geology of the region, and even the suggestion of buried structures or machinery. Could these be remnants of ancient civilizations, or perhaps something more modern, built and hidden by governments eager to control what lay beneath the icy surface? The records from Shackleton's expedition, in particular, have long been the subject of speculation. The men on the Endurance reported seeing strange lights in the sky, possibly indicative of high-energy phenomena or advanced technology. Some have even suggested that these lights were not of natural origin, but the result of secret military activity in the region. The mystery of Antarctica deepens when we consider that, in addition to its remote location, the region's severe weather conditions and impenetrable ice shield have kept much of its landscape hidden from the outside world. With modern satellites capable of probing beneath the ice, new technologies are now beginning to reveal secrets that were once thought to be lost forever. In the 21st century, Antarctica's significance has only grown. As the climate warms and the ice begins to melt, it's becoming increasingly clear that the continent might hold far more than we ever anticipated. Satellite imagery, combined with new geological surveys, has begun to reveal structures that were once obscured by the ice. What these structures represent, and who, if anyone, built them, remains an open question. Could they be remnants of ancient civilizations, or something far more recent? It's possible that what Shackleton and Scott encountered all those years ago was not merely a barren wasteland, but a landscape concealing remnants of a history far more complex and unsettling than anyone could have imagined. The early expeditions to Antarctica thus represent only the tip of the iceberg in a story that is yet to be fully uncovered. Shackleton's ill-fated journey, Scott's tragedy, and the strange phenomena they reported during their time on the ice may hold the keys to unlocking a mystery that has remained hidden beneath the surface of the planet for centuries. But as we look deeper into the frozen heart of Antarctica, we must ask ourselves, what did these early explorers know that we've yet to understand? And how much of the past has been deliberately buried beneath the ice, locked away from history's gaze? Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not what lies beneath the ice, but why it has remained hidden for so long. By the mid-20th century, the world had already undergone profound changes. The scars of 2 world wars were still fresh, and the geopolitical landscape was dominated by the Cold War, a tense and often covert struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. In the aftermath of these global conflicts, the competition for resources had become more intense than ever. Nations had come to understand that in the modern world, access to valuable resources was not just about economic prosperity. It was about military superiority, political influence, and the very survival of a nation in an increasingly unpredictable world. While Europe and Asia remained the central theaters of this new global struggle, the eyes of the superpowers turned increasingly toward the icy expanse of Antarctica. At first glance, Antarctica seemed like an inhospitable wasteland, a barren, frozen landscape with little to offer. It was a land of ice and snow, a place where the harsh environment made it nearly impossible to establish any kind of meaningful settlement. However, as the world's resources became more limited, the idea that Antarctica could hold untapped wealth began to take root. It was during this period that the first serious whispers of a hidden war, fought not with guns or bombs, but over the extraction of rare and valuable resources, began to circulate. The suspicion that there was more to Antarctica than met the eye was not unfounded. Over the previous decades, explorers had made a number of strange and often unexplainable discoveries in the region. These discoveries, coupled with the growing interest in the continent's potential wealth, raised questions that would never be fully answered. What were governments and corporations really after in Antarctica? Why had so many early expeditions been followed by inexplicable tragedies, as if those who ventured too far had discovered something they were not meant to see? And perhaps most chilling of all, had there been an unspoken war fought on the frozen battlefield of Antarctica, one that had remained hidden from the public eye? The mystery of Antarctica's true significance deepened during the Cold War, as both the United States and the Soviet Union ramped up their efforts to control not just the surface of the planet, but also its more elusive and covert resources. Despite the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, which was purportedly signed to ensure that the continent remained a peaceful zone devoted solely to scientific research. There were numerous signs that the treaty was not entirely as it seemed. While the public narrative held that Antarctica was a place for global cooperation and scientific exploration, behind the scenes, the world superpowers were keenly aware of the continent's potential, its vast mineral wealth, its untapped oil reserves, and perhaps even more, resources that were not visible to the naked eye but could change the world's balance of power forever. For the United States, Antarctica's significance went beyond its potential for resource extraction. The continent's strategic location made it an ideal place for military operations and intelligence gathering. Throughout the Cold War, both superpowers began to establish secret bases in Antarctica, often in locations so remote that their existence remained hidden from public view. These bases, which were said to be involved in scientific research, were often suspected of harboring far more covert activities. Could the massive effort to explore and establish a presence in Antarctica have been about more than simply charting the land or studying its glaciers? Were these bases in fact built to keep an eye on something or someone else entirely? It is during this period that rumors of a hidden resource war began to gain traction. The idea that nations were fighting an invisible battle beneath the ice, one that involved not only mining precious minerals, but perhaps something far more valuable and far more dangerous, began to circulate among conspiracy theorists and underground researchers. In the years after World War II, the global scramble for resources had reached a fever pitch. The demand for oil, coal, and metals like uranium, platinum, and rare earth elements was growing exponentially. Yet, despite the vast swathes of the Earth's surface being explored for these materials, there was one place that remained largely unexplored, untouched by modern industry: Antarctica. For those who dared to dig deeper into the history of Antarctica's exploration, the evidence began to mount. Many of the early scientific expeditions, from Shackleton's to those of other nations in the 1930s and 1940s, had found anomalies. Some of these expeditions reported strange encounters with unusual structures buried beneath the ice, while others described energy fields that couldn't be explained by natural phenomena. And yet, when these reports reached the public, they were either downplayed or ignored. To question the true nature of Antarctica was to risk ridicule. But as more nations began to establish a foothold in Antarctica, the question remained: what was really going on beneath the ice? The development of satellite imagery in the 1960s and 1970s revealed further evidence that there was much more to Antarctica than anyone had imagined. What was once thought to be a barren landmass began to show signs of hidden structures, underground lakes, and other unusual formations. These discoveries were initially met with skepticism, but the growing body of evidence seemed to suggest something more sinister, something being deliberately obscured from the public eye. Could these hidden formations be remnants of an ancient civilization, long since buried beneath the ice? Or could they be evidence of more recent activities, perhaps even a hidden war, fought not on the surface, but deep beneath the frozen landscape? Despite the overwhelming evidence of secrecy and potential hidden resources, the Antarctic Treaty kept all exploration and resource extraction under tight restrictions. While it was touted as a global agreement for the peaceful use of the continent, many saw it as a way to prevent anyone from gaining access to Antarctica's hidden wealth. By limiting access to the continent and keeping any information about what lay beneath the ice under wraps, the world's superpowers ensured that their own interests in Antarctica could continue without interference. The treaty may have been a convenient way to stop international conflict from erupting over the continent, but it also provided a perfect cover for those who had other plans. The idea that Antarctica's hidden resources could be part of an ongoing conflict remained mostly a matter of speculation, though. For decades, mainstream history and scientific literature portrayed the continent as a place of peace and scientific discovery. The few outliers who suggested otherwise were dismissed as conspiracy theorists. But as more evidence of unusual phenomena emerged, strange energy fields, unexplained artifacts, and the growing number of classified military bases in the region, many began to question the official narrative. And then came the modern age of exploration. As global warming began to take its toll on the planet's ice sheets, new technologies were developed to explore Antarctica in ways that had never been possible before. Scientists and researchers were able to peer beneath the ice with greater precision, mapping the region with radar and other instruments that could detect hidden structures deep under the surface. What they found was nothing short of astonishing. Huge underground lakes, vast caverns, and even what appeared to be structures buried under miles of ice. Could these be remnants of an ancient civilization, or something more recent, something built by governments or corporations in secret? The search for resources in Antarctica is no longer just a matter of science or exploration. It is a matter of geopolitics. In recent years, the growing interest in mining the continent's vast mineral deposits has only intensified. Countries are once again looking to Antarctica, but this time, the battle for resources may be far more dangerous than anyone realizes. With the increasing interest in mining, and with global demand for resources continuing to rise, it seems inevitable that the hidden war for Antarctica's wealth will eventually come to the surface. Yet the true nature of this battle remains shrouded in secrecy. What exactly are the global powers fighting for beneath the ice? What resources, technologies, or knowledge could be so valuable that nations would risk everything to control them? The answer may lie in the very heart of Antarctica itself. A frozen battlefield, long hidden from view, where the stakes are nothing less than the future of the planet. And as new revelations come to light, it seems that the conflict over Antarctica's resources is far from over. In the early years following the Second World War, as the dust of global conflict began to settle, the world's powers faced a new kind of challenge. The geopolitical landscape had dramatically shifted with the rise of two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, each vying for dominance in a world still reeling from the devastation of war. The Cold War, marked by an intense ideological struggle between communism and capitalism, was about to take shape, and the stakes could not have been higher. Yet, in the midst of this fierce rivalry, a region of the world remained largely untouched by the chaos of war: Antarctica. While the rest of the world was embroiled in a fierce battle for resources, territory, and influence, this icy, remote continent appeared to offer a refuge from the global tensions of the time. However, it didn't take long for the strategic importance of Antarctica to become clear. In 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was signed by 12 countries, effectively putting a halt to territorial claims on the continent. This agreement set the stage for scientific cooperation, stating that Antarctica should be used for peaceful purposes only, with the central aim of fostering international collaboration in the pursuit of knowledge. On paper, the treaty was a groundbreaking document, a triumph of diplomacy in an era defined by the threat of nuclear war and the ideological divide of the Cold War. The treaty aimed to prevent military conflict on the frozen continent and to preserve Antarctica as a zone free from political and economic strife. But as with many international agreements, the reality behind the treaty's promises was far murkier than the public narrative suggested. Beneath the surface of diplomatic discussions, a much deeper question emerged. Why was there such a heightened interest in Antarctica in the first place? What drove the United States, the Soviet Union, and other nations to direct so much attention and resources to this isolated, seemingly barren land? And perhaps more importantly, what was really going on in Antarctica during the Cold War years, beyond the scientific expeditions, beyond the peaceful collaborations? Could there have been a hidden agenda, one that went far beyond the stated goals of international cooperation? The Antarctic Treaty, while lauded as a beacon of peace and scientific collaboration, also became a convenient smokescreen. The idea of protecting Antarctica from military occupation and conflict seemed to offer a shield under which covert operations could be carried out undisturbed. What many failed to realize was that the treaty's vague language and broad stipulations allowed for a great deal of latitude in how nations approached their interests in the region. The clause that prohibited military activity in Antarctica also allowed for non-military activities that could easily serve as a cover for more sinister operations. Despite the treaty's ban on military bases, for example, the United States and the Soviet Union both established extensive research stations in Antarctica, some of which were suspected of having dual military purposes. The race to assert dominance over Antarctica was not merely about scientific discovery. It was about securing control over potential resources and military advantages. At the heart of this covert struggle was the pressing issue of resources. By the 1950s, the global economy was increasingly reliant on energy sources, rare minerals, and raw materials. Oil was essential for industry and transportation. Uranium was crucial for nuclear weapons, and precious metals like platinum were becoming indispensable for electronics and other emerging technologies. It was becoming clear that Antarctica, with its vast, largely unexplored territory, could hold the key to some of the world's most coveted resources. The continent's mineral wealth, its untouched oil reserves, and its potential for scientific advancements promised to make it an invaluable asset for any nation bold enough to stake a claim. But in the public eye, the Antarctic Treaty seemed to guarantee that these resources would remain off-limits, locked away beneath the frozen ice. So what was really happening in Antarctica during the Cold War? Were the world's superpowers truly adhering to the spirit of the treaty, or were they simply using it as a cover for something far more significant? While scientists were busy conducting research on climate, geology, and wildlife, a hidden agenda was slowly taking shape in the shadows, one that involved the extraction of resources, the development of secret military technologies, and perhaps even the discovery of something far older and more powerful than anyone could have imagined. In the years following the signing of the Antarctic Treaty, both the United States and the Soviet Union ramped up their activity on the continent. The United States, in particular, launched Operation Deep Freeze, a massive effort to establish a permanent presence in Antarctica. By the early 1960s, the U.S. had built a network of research stations that would be instrumental in their long-term strategic plans. The Soviet Union, too, began to invest heavily in Antarctica, establishing their own research bases and engaging in various expeditions. What both sides seemed to know, though they were careful not to admit, was that Antarctica might hold the key to resources and technologies that could tip the balance of the Cold War. Although the official narrative was that both superpowers were focused on scientific research, it's important to consider the possibility that these expeditions were, in fact, part of a much larger, more secretive battle for control over Antarctica's wealth. Both nations were heavily invested in the race for scientific superiority, but that race may have been a proxy for something deeper. What if these expeditions were simply a cover for the search for valuable materials buried beneath the ice? Materials that could advance military capabilities or provide critical supplies for the ongoing arms race. There were whispers, too, of hidden technologies, perhaps alien artifacts or remnants of ancient civilizations, that might lie buried under Antarctica's icy surface. Could the secrecy surrounding the continent's exploration have been about more than just resources? It might have been about keeping something far more dangerous from the rest of the world. This shadowy battle for dominance over Antarctica reached a peak in the 1970s and 1980s, when new technological advancements in radar, satellite imagery, and ground-penetrating radar began to uncover the first signs of hidden structures beneath the ice. The information that began to surface suggested that Antarctica was far from an empty wasteland. Rather, it appeared to be the site of long-lost civilizations, hidden bases, and even evidence of technological advancements that were well beyond the scope of what was publicly known. These discoveries, however, were not widely reported in mainstream media, and the growing interest in Antarctica's mysteries was largely ignored by the public. The question remained, what exactly were the superpowers finding beneath the ice, and why were they so eager to keep this knowledge under wraps? As the decades went by, Antarctica's significance continued to grow, both scientifically and geopolitically. The apparent wealth of resources, coupled with the technological discoveries being made under the ice, led to a renewed interest in the continent. The treaty, which had once seemed like a measure of peaceful cooperation, began to show its cracks. The public narrative continued to focus on Antarctica as a symbol of international cooperation and scientific progress. But behind the scenes, nations were jockeying for position, eager to lay claim to whatever wealth might lie hidden beneath the surface. In the 21st century, as global warming continued to melt the continent's ice sheets, new revelations began to emerge. Satellite technology had advanced to the point where vast portions of the continent could be mapped in detail, revealing previously unknown features. The data pointed to the existence of large underground lakes, possible remnants of ancient civilizations, and structures that had long been buried under miles of ice. The scientific community was buzzing with excitement, but the real question remained: were these discoveries truly the product of natural processes, or was something far more deliberate at work beneath the surface? The fact that many of these findings were so quickly classified by governments only fueled the growing sense that there were things about Antarctica that were too dangerous to reveal. As we look back on the history of the Antarctic Treaty, it's clear that its promise of peaceful cooperation has been far more complicated than initially believed. The treaty may have prevented direct military conflict over the continent, but it has also served as a cover for the secretive and strategic operations that have played out in the shadows. The hidden war over Antarctica's resources, ancient technologies, and possible extraterrestrial artifacts is a conflict that continues to unfold, even as the rest of the world remains largely unaware. While the public has been told that Antarctica is a place of peace and scientific exploration, the truth is far more complex, and the stakes could not be higher. As more discoveries come to light and the continent's secrets are slowly revealed, the question becomes ever more pressing. What is truly hidden beneath the ice, and why have the world's powers gone to such lengths to keep it hidden from view? As the years rolled on and the Cold War entrenched itself as the dominant narrative of global politics, Antarctica quietly transformed from a barren wasteland into one of the most intensely scrutinized territories on the planet. What was once a desolate and unexplored realm, characterized by impenetrable ice sheets and inhospitable conditions, began to take on a far more mysterious role in the world's geopolitical struggles. In the midst of this, there emerged an undeniable, yet largely ignored, question: what were the global superpowers really after in Antarctica? The story of Antarctica's importance is one that has remained obscured by the chill of official denials. But the more one delves into the subject, the more certain patterns begin to emerge. Patterns that suggest something much deeper, much darker, and far more dangerous than any of us have been led to believe. In the early decades following the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, it seemed that Antarctica was being quietly handed over to the realm of scientific exploration. On the surface, the treaty was an admirable and noble effort, designed to prevent the exploitation of Antarctica's land for territorial gain. It was heralded as a triumph of international diplomacy, a clear statement that the Cold War superpowers, while locked in fierce ideological and military conflict on every other front, would agree to put aside their differences in order to ensure that Antarctica would remain neutral, peaceful, and devoted solely to scientific research. But as is often the case in geopolitics, the outward peace of international agreements can hide far more complex and covert agendas, and the Antarctic Treaty was no exception. The treaty itself prohibited any military activity on the continent, ostensibly to ensure that Antarctica remained a zone free from the influence of war. Yet this ban didn't apply to military research and technological development. While nations may have agreed not to station troops or weapons in Antarctica, the continent was still the site of a significant amount of military activity, albeit under the guise of scientific research. The United States, for example, rapidly expanded its presence in Antarctica, establishing a series of research stations that, while officially dedicated to peaceful research, were suspected of conducting military reconnaissance and testing high-tech instruments designed to monitor global communications and military activity. The establishment of these bases was not simply about science. It was about strategic positioning, and many experts suggest that the true aim of these U.S. efforts was to secure a military foothold in the region, where access to crucial resources, both material and strategic, was becoming increasingly important. Behind closed doors, the U.S. military was pouring resources into Antarctica, setting up highly secretive research operations designed to study the continent's topography, climate, and geological composition. But there was another factor at play, something that was not publicized, something that would not be mentioned in any diplomatic treaty or scientific paper. Antarctica was sitting on a potential treasure trove of resources that could help fuel the superpower's military and technological ambitions for decades to come. One of the most significant resources believed to be buried under the continent was rare minerals, specifically rare earth elements and precious metals that could not only fuel industries, but also bolster national security. At the height of the Cold War, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union were deeply invested in the need for these materials, as they were used in everything from advanced weaponry to the emerging field of electronics. If Antarctica held untapped reserves of these minerals, whoever controlled access to them would hold a substantial advantage in the technological arms race. The Soviet Union, too, had its eyes on Antarctica, not just for its strategic importance, but for its potential wealth. As a nation, the USSR was known for its resource-driven politics, and Antarctica represented a prize that could shift the balance of power. Much like the United States, the Soviets expanded their scientific and military operations in Antarctica, establishing their own research stations, some of which were located in strategically important positions. But what was truly going on at these stations? Were they simply carrying out scientific research as claimed, or were they involved in something far more shadowy, something related to the extraction of resources or the development of covert technologies? What was even more troubling was the strange presence of highly classified operations and covert missions on the continent. In the years following World War II, and particularly during the Cold War, it became clear that Antarctica was more than just a neutral zone for scientific collaboration. It was a place where nations were quietly vying for control over resources that had the potential to shift global power dynamics. The public narrative about Antarctica focused on its pristine environment, its value for climate research, and its status as an international symbol of peace. But behind the scenes, military scientists, geologists, and intelligence operatives were deep into something far darker. A covert war over resources, technology, and perhaps even ancient knowledge that could change the course of human history. For those willing to look beyond the official narrative, the evidence of secrecy and ulterior motives surrounding Antarctica was becoming impossible to ignore. As the Cold War heated up, more and more evidence began to suggest that the two superpowers weren't just interested in the landmass for its scientific potential. They were after something more. Hidden beneath the ice, buried in the unexplored reaches of the continent, were signs of unusual phenomena, structures buried beneath miles of ice, strange readings from seismic activity, and reports of anomalous energy fields that defied conventional scientific explanation. These discoveries, if taken at face value, pointed to the possibility that something ancient, or perhaps even alien, might lie beneath the frozen surface. Something so important that both superpowers felt compelled to protect it at all costs. There were also reports from early explorers and expeditions that hinted at the presence of strange and unexplainable artifacts. These artifacts, found during scientific expeditions in the 1940s and 1950s, were often dismissed as geological anomalies or the result of scientific misinterpretation. But for those who were willing to entertain alternative theories, the artifacts represented something more profound, evidence that Antarctica might have been the site of an advanced civilization long lost to history, or perhaps even a place where extraterrestrial technology had once been deposited. These whispers, though largely ignored by the mainstream scientific community, provided a tantalizing glimpse into the mysteries that lay hidden beneath the continent's ice. By the time the 21st century rolled around, the mysteries of Antarctica had only deepened. As global interest in the continent surged, new technologies emerged that allowed scientists to peer beneath the ice in ways never before possible. Satellites, ground-penetrating radar, and other advanced tools began to reveal strange patterns beneath the ice, a network of tunnels, massive underground lakes, and even what appeared to be artificially constructed structures buried beneath the frozen surface. These discoveries have been met with a mixture of fascination and skepticism. Some experts argue that these findings are merely natural formations, but others believe that they could represent the remnants of an ancient civilization, or, even more disturbingly, evidence of something far more contemporary, perhaps hidden military or industrial complexes created by one of the global powers. The idea that a secret war for control over Antarctica's resources, knowledge, and technology was fought in the shadows is a theory that has gained traction in recent years. As climate change continues to melt Antarctica's ice, new revelations about the continent's hidden past and present are beginning to surface. It is becoming increasingly clear that there is far more to Antarctica than we have been told. The discoveries of strange structures, energy anomalies, and artifacts buried beneath the ice suggest that Antarctica might be hiding not just the key to a geopolitical struggle, but as something far more profound, something that could alter the course of human history. The secrecy surrounding Antarctica's true significance is not just a matter of resource control or military strategy. It is about keeping the world in the dark about a profound truth, a truth that could challenge everything we know about human history, civilization, and even the very nature of reality itself. Whether the powers that be are deliberately concealing this information or simply unaware of the full scope of the continent's hidden mysteries, one thing is certain. The frozen continent is far from the peaceful, scientific utopia it appears to be. Instead, it is a battleground, one where global powers are vying not just for resources, but for access to something much more valuable and far more dangerous than anyone realizes. As the years passed and the geopolitical tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union simmered beneath the surface, Antarctica quietly transformed from a place of scientific exploration into a hotbed of covert activity. In the early stages of the Cold War, Antarctica was largely perceived by the public as a barren wasteland, an inhospitable region where the world's best and brightest could conduct pure scientific research. But as more and more nations began to send expeditions to the southernmost continent, the true motives behind these missions began to unfold. Beneath the surface of international cooperation and peaceful treaties, there seemed to be a darker, more secretive game being played, a game that involved not just scientific discovery, but a fierce battle for control over resources, technologies, and perhaps even ancient knowledge that had long been buried beneath the ice. The strategic importance of Antarctica became increasingly clear in the post-World War II era, especially with the rise of advanced technologies and the growing demand for rare minerals and energy sources. While the official line was that the continent was being preserved for scientific study, the reality was far more complex. The continent was home to vast, untapped resources, minerals, precious metals, and even oil that could give any nation a significant advantage in the race for global dominance. At the same time, Antarctica's remote location and harsh conditions made it an ideal place for clandestine operations. What the general public didn't realize was that Antarctica had become a silent battleground in the larger Cold War struggle, a place where nations were silently vying for control over resources and intelligence, hidden from the public eye. Throughout the Cold War, the United States, the Soviet Union, and other powers did not simply send expeditions to Antarctica for the sake of scientific discovery. There were hidden layers to these missions that were about securing military and strategic advantages. Both superpowers quickly realized that the vast expanse of Antarctica offered not only a treasure trove of valuable resources, but also a prime location for conducting surveillance and monitoring activities. The continent's isolation made it an ideal site for launching covert operations without the risk of being discovered by enemy forces. Using the guise of scientific exploration, both the United States and the Soviet Union built secret research stations that served dual purposes. On the surface, they were dedicated to studying the environment and conducting research on climate, geology, and biology, but beneath that surface, they were vehicles for intelligence gathering, the testing of military technologies, and the discovery of new forms of energy. During this period, numerous reports began to surface regarding unusual discoveries and strange phenomena encountered by early explorers and scientific missions in Antarctica. While many of these reports were initially dismissed as either exaggerations or the result of fatigue and the harsh environment, they began to raise eyebrows among those who were paying attention. The most persistent and intriguing accounts spoke of strange, geometric structures buried beneath the ice, strange energy readings emanating from deep below the surface, and unusual artifacts, some of which appear to have been manufactured, possibly by an advanced civilization. These discoveries were not openly discussed in the mainstream scientific community, but they became the subject of intense speculation among alternative historians, conspiracy theorists, and those with access to classified information. What began as the official exploration of the Antarctic landscape quickly turned into a search for something much more profound. Some began to suggest that Antarctica might hold the key to understanding ancient human history, an ancient history that had been erased from the record. It was during this period that the idea of lost civilizations, like the mythic Atlantis, gained traction. Could Antarctica have been home to an ancient, advanced civilization that existed long before recorded history? Or, more shockingly, could this civilization have left behind technologies or knowledge that would challenge everything we knew about human progress and our place in the world? The possibility that Antarctica might conceal ancient, forgotten histories beneath its icy surface ignited imaginations worldwide, and the pursuit of these theories became an obsession for some researchers. The real turning point came when satellites and modern radar technology began to offer a new view of Antarctica. With the advent of satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar, scientists were suddenly able to look beneath the thick layers of ice that had concealed the continent for millennia. What they discovered was astonishing: vast underground lakes, large tunnels, and what appeared to be massive, geometric structures buried under miles of ice. While many of these findings were initially explained away by the scientific community as natural geological formations, others remained unexplained. Were these anomalies just a product of nature, or was there evidence of something more, something artificial, possibly the remnants of an ancient civilization or even a more recent human-made structure? The secrecy surrounding these discoveries only fueled speculation. If these findings were truly what they seemed to be, it meant that the history of Antarctica was far more complicated than anyone had previously imagined. As these discoveries continued to emerge, they began to shift the narrative around Antarctica. The continent, once seen as an isolated, barren landmass, began to take on the aura of a lost world, a place where the past was hidden beneath the ice, waiting to be uncovered. While the official narrative remained focused on scientific research and peaceful exploration, the increasingly frequent reports of anomalous structures and strange phenomena suggested that something much larger was at play. Were the world's superpowers really after Antarctica? Was it simply about resources, or were they searching for something far more valuable and far more dangerous? During this time, a growing number of conspiracy theories began to circulate. Some of these theories suggested that Antarctica was home to hidden bases, perhaps established by ancient civilizations or even extraterrestrial forces, that held the key to unimaginable knowledge. The idea that there were ancient ruins or extraterrestrial artifacts buried under the ice became a subject of intense fascination. These theories were further fueled by reports from various expeditions in the mid-20th century, which mentioned the discovery of strange energy readings, unusual mineral deposits, and artifacts that appear to be far older than the surrounding geological formations. Some even suggested that the ancient civilizations that once inhabited Antarctica might have been far more technologically advanced than anything humanity had achieved in modern times. These reports, however, were not without their share of controversy. The mainstream scientific community largely dismissed the idea that Antarctica could harbor ancient, technologically advanced civilizations. Most researchers at the time believed that any structures found beneath the ice were the result of natural geological processes, rather than the work of humans or extraterrestrials. However, This did not deter the growing number of alternative historians and conspiracy theorists who believed that there was much more to Antarctica's past than met the eye. One of the most persistent and intriguing theories posited that Antarctica was not always the frozen wasteland it is today. According to this theory, the continent was once a lush, temperate region, home to advanced civilizations that lived thousands of years ago. Some even suggested that these civilizations have been wiped out by a cataclysmic event, possibly related to climate change, a comet impact, or some other disaster that caused the continent to become encased in ice. The theory, while speculative, proposed that remnants of these lost civilizations could still be hidden beneath the thick ice, waiting to be uncovered. The more recent technological advancements in satellite imaging, radar, and deep Earth probing have begun to reveal what some have described as unnatural features beneath the Antarctic ice. These anomalies have been documented in official reports and have caused some scientists to question the long-standing assumptions about the continent's geology. Could it be that the great expanse of Antarctica was hiding not just natural resources, but also something far more significant, a missing chapter in human history? As more nations continue to explore Antarctica and gain access to previously classified data, the truth about what lies beneath the ice is beginning to slowly come to light. What we once thought we knew about the continent is being challenged by new evidence, suggesting that Antarctica may indeed hold answers to some of the most profound questions about the origins of life, the development of human civilizations, and even the nature of our planet itself. Whether the mysteries of Antarctica will ever be fully uncovered remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The frozen continent is far more than just a scientific curiosity. It is a place of untold secrets, secrets that, if uncovered, could change everything we know about the world and our place in it. The true history of Antarctica, hidden beneath its icy veil, is a puzzle that continues to captivate and mystify the world. It may take years, or even decades, to fully uncover the secrets buried beneath the ice, but one thing is clear. Antarctica is not just a place of scientific exploration. It is a battleground for control over resources, knowledge, and perhaps even the very future of humanity itself. What is hidden there, whether ancient or modern, natural or artificial, remains one of the world's most tantalizing mysteries. And as the ice continues to melt, it is possible that the answers to these questions are just within reach. As the 20th century drew to a close, the rapid advancement of technology and science, combined with increasing interest in the mysteries of the natural world, set the stage for an entirely new chapter in Antarctica's enigmatic history. The geopolitical tension of the Cold War was waning, but the superpowers' secretive interest in Antarctica continued to grow. What had once been considered a barren wasteland, devoid of life and value, was now seen as an untouched frontier, one that was brimming with untapped potential. Antarctica's icy expanse was hiding more than just fossils of ancient life. It was hiding the key to future wealth, technology, and even global security. For decades, the scientific community had focused on Antarctica primarily as a tool for understanding the Earth's history, from its climate patterns to the shifts in its land masses. But a growing number of scientists, as well as military officials and geopolitical strategists, began to realize that Antarctica might hold the answers to questions far beyond the scope of simple geological exploration. Beneath its thick sheets of ice lay secrets that could reshape the future, not just of the world's power dynamics, but of human understanding itself. The discovery of valuable minerals and metals was one of the first signs that the continent's true importance was not just environmental or historical, but economic. In the early 1980s, satellite imaging and geological surveys began to reveal the presence of vast mineral deposits beneath the ice. These included rare earth elements, key to the development of advanced technologies, as well as precious metals like gold, platinum, and uranium, which were vital not only for industrial uses, but also for military applications. At the time, the world was on the cusp of a technological revolution, and demand for these materials was at an all-time high. While Antarctica had long been viewed as a vast frozen desert, it was now considered an untapped treasure trove, waiting for the right nation or corporation to unlock its riches. Yet, access to these resources remained locked behind a veil of international treaties and agreements. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, had prohibited military activities and resource exploitation in Antarctica, in an effort to preserve the continent for peaceful scientific research. While the treaty was ostensibly about fostering international cooperation, it was also a carefully crafted political maneuver, one that allowed the superpowers to assert control over a region that was rapidly becoming a geopolitical prize. The treaty's language, vague and open to interpretation, allowed nations to bypass the strict rules regarding exploitation, provided they framed their activities as scientific in nature. And this loophole would eventually become the key to unlocking Antarctica's darkest secrets. The late 20th century saw a dramatic shift in the political landscape. As the Soviet Union collapsed and the global balance of power shifted, new players began to take an interest in the frozen continent. Globalization had opened the doors for multinational corporations to play a larger role in international affairs, and the growing demand for resources, especially those needed for high-tech industries, meant that Antarctica had become a strategic location for nations eager to secure their place in the New World Order. This period also marked a shift in how Antarctica was explored and exploited. No longer were the expeditions of the early 20th century about simple exploration. They were about acquiring knowledge that could be used to develop technologies, establish economic dominance, and perhaps even discover secrets hidden beneath the ice that could change the course of history. Among the most significant breakthroughs in this new era of exploration was the development of advanced geophysical techniques, including ice-penetrating radar and satellite-based imaging. These methods allowed scientists to peer beneath the thick layers of ice that had previously kept Antarctica's mysteries concealed. What they discovered was nothing short of extraordinary. Large, deep subglacial lakes, many of which were entirely isolated from the rest of the world water systems, were uncovered. Some of these lakes were found to contain microbial life forms that had evolved in isolation, giving scientists a glimpse into the potential for life to exist in extreme environments. These findings were important not only for understanding life on Earth, but also for the possibility of life on other planets. But it wasn't just microbial life that these new technologies were revealing. Radar and satellite imaging began to expose the presence of strange, artificial-looking structures buried deep beneath the ice sheets. These discoveries fueled the growing belief that Antarctica might have once been home to an advanced civilization, one that had existed long before humanity's recorded history. The structures were often described as resembling vast, geometric formations, with precise angles and patterns that seemed to define natural geological processes. Some of the most compelling discoveries included large, flat areas that appeared to have been deliberately shaped, as well as extensive underground tunnels or caves that stretched for miles beneath the ice. These findings, though largely speculative, began to stir the imaginations of archaeologists, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike. At the same time, rumors began to circulate about the presence of ancient artifacts discovered by earlier expeditions, some of which had allegedly been suppressed by various governments. These reports suggested that early explorers, perhaps in the 1920s or 1930s, had found strange relics during their journeys into Antarctica's interior. The artifacts, many of which were said to have been made of materials unknown to modern science, appear to hint at a lost civilization, one that had flourished long before recorded human history. These items, however, were rarely discussed in official reports, and when they were dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. The secrecy surrounding these potential discoveries was reinforced by the fact that military and intelligence agencies from various countries had taken an active interest in Antarctica long before the end of the Cold War. It wasn't just the U.S. and the Soviet Union that had covert missions in Antarctica. Other powers, including Germany and Japan, had also conducted clandestine operations in the region. Some of the most interesting reports came from former military personnel and intelligence agents who had participated in these operations. They spoke of secret military bases located deep within Antarctica's interior, as well as unexplained events and sightings during their missions. In many cases, the individuals who made these claims were either silenced or discredited, but their stories persisted, adding to the growing body of evidence that something far more sinister was afoot beneath the ice. One of the most popular and controversial theories to emerge during this period was the idea that the Third Reich, during the final years of World War II, had sent a team of Nazi scientists and military personnel to Antarctica to establish a secret base, one that was later abandoned, but which contained invaluable research, technology, and even artifacts from an ancient civilization. According to proponents of this theory, the Nazis were aware of Antarctica's potential significance and had made expeditions to the continent in search of both advanced technologies and hidden resources. These expeditions, it was suggested, were part of a larger plan to create a Fourth Reich, one that would be fueled by the advanced knowledge and resources found in the frozen wastes of Antarctica. Whether or not this theory has any basis in fact is still a subject of intense debate. What remains undeniable, however, is that the interest in Antarctica's hidden resources and potential remains as strong as ever. Governments and corporations are continuing to pour resources into exploring and exploiting the continent's wealth, with the hope that it holds the key to solving many of the world's most pressing challenges, from energy scarcity to global security. The international community has, for the most part, continued to abide by the Antarctic Treaty, which prohibits resource extraction for commercial purposes. However, there are growing calls to revisit the terms of the treaty, particularly as global demands for energy and rare minerals continue to rise. Some countries, such as China and Australia, have expressed increasing interest in establishing a more permanent presence in Antarctica, not just for scientific research, but to secure their own access to the continent's potential wealth. Meanwhile, private corporations are also eyeing Antarctica's vast mineral reserves, hoping to secure the rights to mine precious resources once the legal barriers are lifted. At the same time, the technological advancements that have allowed scientists to peer beneath Antarctica's ice continue to reveal more and more intriguing anomalies. The question remains, what exactly is hidden beneath the continent's thick ice sheets? Could there be an ancient, forgotten civilization lying dormant beneath the ice, waiting to be uncovered? Or could the continent's secrets have more to do with modern-day geopolitics, with nations vying for control over hidden resources and technologies that could change the course of human history? As the ice continues to melt and the world's thirst for resources grows, Antarctica is poised to become an even more central figure in global affairs. Whether it is the remnants of a lost civilization, the treasure trove of resources beneath the ice, or the secrets of advanced technologies yet to be discovered, Antarctica holds a promise that continues to captivate the world's imagination. What we do know is that the future of the continent will be one of both discovery and contention, with far-reaching implications for the balance of power in the 21st century. The frozen continent is not just a land of ice and snow. It is a place where the past, present, and future converge in ways that could reshape the world as we know it. The more one delves into the mystery surrounding Antarctica, the clearer it becomes that the frozen continent holds more than just geological secrets or a treasure trove of untapped resources. Beneath the surface of international treaties, scientific exploration, and military interests, Antarctica seems to be a land of extraordinary anomalies, places and phenomena that defy the expectations of both the scientific community and the general public. From strange patterns beneath the ice to unexplained energy readings, the continent has increasingly become a focal point of speculation, intrigue, and conspiracy theories. While many consider Antarctica to be a desolate, inhospitable region at the edge of the world, those with a deeper knowledge of its hidden history understand that the continent is anything but ordinary. Its isolation, mysterious geography, and the increasingly advanced technologies used to explore it have all combined to reveal something that may alter our understanding of human history, the planet's ancient past, and even the very nature of our reality. One of the most compelling and baffling aspects of Antarctica's secrets is the emerging evidence that suggests the continent may have once been a temperate, fertile land, far from the icebound wasteland we know today. This theory, which is sometimes referred to as the ancient Antarctica hypothesis, proposes that the continent was once home to an advanced civilization, possibly similar to Atlantis, that thrived thousands of years ago in a much warmer climate. Proponents of this theory point to several anomalies, both geological and archaeological, that suggest Antarctica was not always encased in ice. These include the discovery of ancient fossils, geological formations that appear to have been shaped by water and erosion, and even evidence of what some believe to be man-made structures buried deep beneath the ice. This theory has been further fueled by the increasingly sophisticated tools available to scientists, such as radar and satellite imaging, which have begun to reveal vast subglacial lakes and previously unknown landforms hidden beneath the ice. The most striking piece of evidence supporting the idea that Antarctica was once a temperate region comes from its geology. Rock formations found in Antarctica have been compared to similar formations found on other continents, particularly South America and Africa. These continents were once part of the supercontinent Gondwana, which existed millions of years ago before drifting apart. The rock formations in Antarctica, it is argued, provide clear evidence that the continent was once connected to these other landmasses in a much warmer period. Additionally, fossils of tropical plants and animals have been discovered in Antarctica, suggesting that the continent was once home to lush vegetation and diverse ecosystems. While this is widely accepted by the scientific community, the more controversial question remains: if Antarctica was once a thriving, temperate landmass, what happened to it? And could there be remnants of a lost civilization beneath the ice? Some of the most curious anomalies observed in Antarctica's subglacial terrain include the discovery of large, symmetrical, geometric formations that appear to be unnatural in origin. These formations, which have been detected using advanced radar technology, suggest the presence of structures buried deep beneath the ice, possibly remnants of an ancient city or even an advanced civilization. While mainstream scientists remain cautious, proposing that these formations are simply the result of natural geological processes, others argue that their precision and scale point to the possibility of human or even extraterrestrial involvement. These formations, often described as pyramidal or ziggurat-like, are eerily similar to ancient structures found in places like Egypt, Mexico, and Peru. Could these shapes, hidden beneath the ice for millennia, be the remains of a lost civilization? One that had the technological prowess to manipulate the environment on a scale we have yet to understand? Adding to the mystery are the strange energy readings and electromagnetic anomalies that have been recorded by various scientific expeditions in Antarctica. These readings have been described as unnatural and out of place, especially considering the isolation of the continent and the absence of large-scale human activity. Some of these anomalies have been linked to unusual underground structures that could be generating energy or signals. This has led some researchers to speculate that what lies beneath Antarctica could be far more than just the ruins of an ancient civilization. Could there be something more, something far older, and possibly even non-human? The theory that Antarctica may be home to alien artifacts or technology left behind by extraterrestrial visitors in the distant past has become a recurring theme in the annals of alternative history. Some believe that the ice itself may have preserved these artifacts, hidden from the eyes of history for millennia. For decades, the idea that Antarctica might contain extraterrestrial artifacts or even hidden bases has been dismissed as pure speculation by the mainstream scientific community. However, there's a growing body of evidence that suggests this theory may not be as far-fetched as once believed. One of the most intriguing pieces of this puzzle comes from the alleged discovery of mysterious metallic objects in Antarctic ice cores. These objects, according to some sources, bear markings and characteristics that do not appear to match any known human-made materials. While these findings are often met with skepticism and labeled as misidentifications or artifacts of natural processes, there are those who insist that these objects could be remnants of an alien presence on Earth, possibly even left behind by a forgotten extraterrestrial civilization that once visited or inhabited the continent. Beyond the search for ancient civilizations or extraterrestrial artifacts, the growing interest in Antarctica also ties into modern geopolitical dynamics. As the world faces the challenges of resource depletion, climate change, and political instability, Antarctica has come to represent an untapped reserve of potential wealth and power. The continent is thought to be rich in minerals, oil, and other resources, all of which are critical to the future of global industry. With the Antarctic ice sheets slowly melting due to global warming, new opportunities are emerging for nations and corporations to stake their claim on these resources. The race to secure access to Antarctica's wealth has already begun, and the consequences of this resource gold rush could be profound, both for the environment and for international relations. While the Antarctic Treaty remains in place, which bans resource extraction for commercial purposes, there are growing calls to reconsider this agreement. As technological advances continue to make it easier to explore the continent and extract its resources, more countries are voicing their desire to unlock Antarctica's secrets. China, for example, has significantly increased its presence in Antarctica in recent years, establishing multiple research stations and asserting its interests in the region. Other nations, such as the United States, Australia, and Russia, have similarly ramped up their activities on the continent, citing scientific research, but with underlying economic and strategic motivations. The possibility that nations are positioning themselves for a future in which they can control the resources of Antarctica is raising concerns about the continent's future, as well as the potential for conflict over these resources. The implications of Antarctica's hidden potential are enormous, not only for resource extraction, but for scientific discovery as well. Beyond the potential for extraterrestrial artifacts or lost civilizations, Antarctica remains one of the last frontiers for understanding the Earth's history, climate, and ecosystems. As the ice continues to melt and the continent becomes more accessible, the potential for scientific breakthroughs, ranging from new medical discoveries to the identification of previously unknown species, has never been greater. Yet, as with any frontier, the potential for exploitation and conflict remains ever present. What happens when the drive for resources collides with the pursuit of knowledge? Will the pursuit of wealth and power cloud the objective truth? Or will the discovery of Antarctica's secrets lead to a new chapter in our understanding of the Earth and our place in the universe? There is also the question of what humanity might learn from the knowledge buried in Antarctica. Knowledge that could be the key to solving some of our most pressing problems, such as climate change, energy scarcity, and resource depletion. Could the discovery of ancient technologies hidden beneath layers of ice offer solutions that we have yet to imagine? What if the ancient civilizations that once inhabited Antarctica had access to technologies or resources that could transform our world? Or, more controversially, could extraterrestrial intelligence, if discovered on the continent, offer us insights into new energy sources, technologies, or even interstellar travel? These questions, though speculative, highlight the immense significance of Antarctica as not just a physical space, but as a potential repository of knowledge that could redefine humanity's future. As the continent slowly reveals its secrets, it is becoming increasingly apparent that Antarctica is far more than just a scientific curiosity. It is a place where the past, present, and future converge. It is a land where lost civilizations may lie buried, where extraterrestrial artifacts may exist, and where the future of humanity could be shaped by the resources and knowledge hidden beneath the ice. Whether through its mysterious geological formations, its unexplained electromagnetic anomalies, or its potential for resource exploitation, Antarctica represents a riddle that, once solved, could change everything we think we know about our planet, and perhaps our place in the cosmos. The unfolding mysteries of Antarctica are only just beginning to be understood, but what is clear is that the continent is not just a frozen wasteland. It is a place of profound mystery, where humanity's history may be rewritten and where the future may be decided. As the exploration of Antarctica intensified during the 21st century, the initial notion that the continent was simply a barren wasteland began to crumble. The increasingly sophisticated technologies, coupled with a growing realization of the continent's potential wealth, turned Antarctica into one of the most mysterious and controversial places on Earth. Where once it was viewed as a neutral zone for scientific research and environmental preservation, the shift in global dynamics, marked by climate change, geopolitical shifts, and the demand for rare resources, has transformed Antarctica into the focus of international competition, covert operations, and even conspiracy theories. What had been largely ignored for decades was now being examined through a new lens. Could Antarctica hold secrets that went beyond its geology, beyond its hidden resources, and delve into something far more profound, perhaps even connected to the origins of humanity itself? For centuries, the prevailing assumption about Antarctica was that its vast, icy expanse had been formed by natural processes over millions of years. However, recent developments in both scientific research and satellite technology have begun to suggest otherwise. Over the last few decades, numerous scientific missions have revealed startling details about the continent's features, many of which challenge the conventional understanding of its geological history. Beneath the thick layers of ice, the radar has uncovered massive lakes, rivers, and underground networks that defy natural explanations. The size and complexity of these hidden landscapes hint at the possibility of a much more active and dynamic past than we've been led to believe. More intriguingly, these formations appear to have been shaped in ways that suggest deliberate human, or perhaps even extraterrestrial, intervention. One of the most unsettling discoveries to date involves the strange presence of massive structures, some of which appear to be artificial in nature. Using state-of-the-art radar and seismic imaging, scientists have detected large, symmetrical formations buried deep beneath the Antarctic ice sheets. These formations, often described as pyramid-like or geometrically precise, appear to be made of materials that don't conform to what is typically found in naturalized formations. Such anomalies have sparked intense speculation about what these structures could be. Ancient ruins of an advanced civilization, secret military bases from a bygone era, or even remnants of a non-human intelligence. While the mainstream scientific community is cautious, attributing these findings to natural processes, there's a growing number of researchers and independent explorers who believe that the evidence points to something far more extraordinary. Could these structures be the remains of a civilization that existed long before the rise of known human history? Or is there a more fantastical explanation? That these are the remnants of an extraterrestrial presence on Earth, perhaps from a time when the continent was a thriving, habitable place, or even a base of operations for an ancient alien race. For many, the notion that Antarctica was once home to a thriving civilization, possibly the key to understanding the mysterious origins of humanity, is a theory that resonates with the mystery and allure that surrounds the continent. Adding to the intrigue is the consistent pattern of strange energy anomalies recorded by various expeditions. These anomalous readings, often described as unnatural or out of place, have been detected in areas where there is little to no human activity. In some cases, these energy spikes have been traced to specific underground locations, suggesting that something beneath the ice may be generating powerful electromagnetic fields. Theories abound about what could be responsible for these odd energy readings. Some suggest that the source might be an advanced energy-producing technology buried deep beneath the surface, either left behind by an ancient civilization or an extraterrestrial species. Others propose that these energy anomalies could be linked to something far more otherworldly, a source of power or communication from an entirely different realm or dimension. In parallel to these unexplained phenomena, the scientific community has also been investigating the possibility that the Earth's magnetic field, which plays a significant role in shielding our planet from solar radiation, could be influenced by anomalies found beneath Antarctica's ice. Some researchers have suggested that the ice-covered continent may hold key insights into the history of Earth's magnetic field and its relation to other phenomena, such as climate change. The presence of large, unexplained electromagnetic anomalies may indicate the existence of natural structures deep beneath the ice, structures that could have been influencing the planet's magnetic forces long before modern humans ever walked the Earth. The ancient history of Antarctica has also gained increasing attention in recent years due to a series of fascinating reports that suggest the continent may have been home to civilizations far more advanced than any known to history. According to some theories, Antarctica's ancient civilizations were not only aware of advanced technologies, but were also highly attuned to the planet's natural forces, harnessing energy sources that modern science has yet to fully comprehend. These civilizations, it is proposed, could have used advanced knowledge of the Earth's magnetic fields and energy sources to create structures, machinery, and technology far ahead of their time. Could it be that the answers to humanity's most profound questions about our origins, our place in the universe, and the true capabilities of our ancient ancestors are hidden in the ice-covered depths of Antarctica? One of the most captivating aspects of these theories is their ability to bridge the gap between science and the more esoteric branches of human understanding. The idea that Antarctica's history holds the key to unraveling the secrets of humanity's origins is particularly compelling. Some researchers believe that the continent may harbor clues that could explain the sudden rise of advanced civilizations like those of the ancient Egyptians or Sumerians, whose knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and mathematics seems to have appeared almost overnight. Could these ancient cultures have inherited their advanced knowledge from a much older civilization that once thrived in Antarctica before a cataclysmic event buried it beneath the ice? The connection between Antarctica and ancient civilizations is further fueled by reports of mysterious artifacts, objects that seem to have been deliberately crafted by an intelligent species. According to some accounts, these artifacts have been discovered during scientific expeditions, though many of the findings are often dismissed or ignored by mainstream archaeologists. The objects, some suggest, exhibit characteristics that are not found in any known human-made materials, suggesting that they could either be the result of an alien presence on Earth or evidence of a civilization so advanced that it existed long before humanity as we know it. These accounts, though largely anecdotal, add another layer to the puzzle of Antarctica's past. The growing body of evidence, ranging from strange geological formations and unexplained electromagnetic anomalies to the potential discovery of alien technology or ancient artifacts, has led many researchers to propose that Antarctica may hold the key to understanding not only the Earth's history, but also the hidden dimensions of human existence. What if the answer to the question of human origins lies not in Africa or the Middle East, but beneath the ice of Antarctica? This brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of the ongoing exploration of Antarctica, the increasing interest in what might be buried deep within the ice itself. With the advent of new technologies and increasingly sophisticated methods of ice core drilling, scientists are beginning to recover ancient samples from beneath the ice sheets. These ice cores contain not only traces of ancient atmospheric gases and biological material, but also evidence of the planet's geological past. What if these ice cores contain more than just ancient air? What if they also contain traces of human, or even extraterrestrial, presence? What if the deepest layers of ice hide not just fossilized microorganisms, but evidence of an ancient, lost civilization? As exploration continues and new data is gathered, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Antarctica is not the barren wasteland we once believed it to be. It is a land of profound mysteries, waiting to be unlocked. The continent holds the potential for extraordinary discoveries, from new insights into the planet's history to the revelation of lost civilizations, hidden technologies, and even extraterrestrial influences. The next chapter in Antarctica's story is still being written, and with each new expedition, we move closer to uncovering the truth behind one of the most enigmatic places on Earth. The frozen continent may hold the answers to questions humanity has been asking for centuries. Or perhaps it will raise even more profound questions that we have yet to consider. But as the ice melts and the secrets of Antarctica are slowly revealed, one thing is certain. The frozen continent is a place unlike any other, one that will continue to captivate and intrigue us for generations to come. As the world edges into the 21st century, the ever-growing fascination with Antarctica has begun to take on a new urgency. The continent, which had once seemed like a distant and largely irrelevant place on the map, is increasingly becoming the subject of both geopolitical and scientific scrutiny. Nations around the world, driven by both the need for resources and the insatiable thirst for knowledge, are shifting their focus toward the frozen expanse in an effort to uncover its hidden treasures. But the deeper we probe into Antarctica's mysteries, the more apparent it becomes that this vast, icy wilderness may hold far more than just natural resources or ancient fossils. It may also contain secrets that could fundamentally alter our understanding of human history and the origins of civilization itself. One of the most enduring and tantalizing mysteries surrounding Antarctica is the question of its ancient past. For centuries, scientists and explorers believed that the continent had been completely covered in ice for millions of years, making it inhospitable to both human life and animal habitation. However, emerging evidence suggests that this may not have always been the case. Fossils of ancient plants and animals, as well as geological formations that point to the presence of flowing rivers and lakes, suggest that Antarctica was once a temperate, fertile land, perhaps even a cradle of life long before the modern human era. If this theory is correct, it raises an even more profound question. What happened to Antarctica's climate, and why did it become the frozen wasteland it is today? The key to understanding Antarctica's transformation lies in the continent's complex geological history. Millions of years ago, Antarctica was part of a larger supercontinent known as Gondwana, which included present-day Africa, South America, and Australia. At this time, the climate of Antarctica was vastly different from what it is now, and the land was home to lush forests and diverse ecosystems. Evidence of this ancient environment has been uncovered in the form of fossils, including remnants of trees, ferns, and even dinosaurs. The discovery of these fossils has been one of the most startling revelations about Antarctica's ancient past, challenging our previous understanding of how life once flourished on the continent. So, what caused this dramatic shift in Antarctica's climate? Most scientists agree that the transformation from a warm, temperate landmass to a frozen wasteland was the result of a series of environmental and geological factors, including shifts in the Earth's orbit, the breakup of Gondwana, and the gradual cooling of the planet. As the continents drifted apart and Antarctica became more isolated, the land began to cool, and its once thriving ecosystems began to die off. The ice sheets that now cover the continent grew progressively thicker, and over millions of years, Antarctica became the frozen expanse we know today. However, the implications of this shift are far from straightforward. If Antarctica was once a thriving, temperate landmass, could it have been home to an ancient civilization, one that flourished before the rise of recorded history? Some researchers believe this possibility is not as far-fetched as it may seem. According to this theory, Antarctica could have been the site of a civilization that possessed knowledge and technologies far beyond anything we have recorded in human history. The idea that an ancient civilization could have thrived on Antarctica is supported by the discovery of certain anomalies beneath the ice, such as geometric formations, massive structures, and unexplained electromagnetic readings. Some of these formations have been described as pyramid-like, with precise angles and geometric patterns that appear to defy natural geological processes. If these structures are indeed man-made, it would suggest that a highly advanced civilization once lived on the continent, and their knowledge and technologies may still be buried beneath the ice. The theory of an ancient Antarctic civilization is further fueled by reports of strange artifacts and objects found during early explorations of the continent. While many of these claims have been dismissed by the scientific community, some researchers believe that they point to the possibility of a lost civilization that predates known human history. These artifacts, it is suggested, may contain clues that could help us understand not only the origins of humanity, but also the evolution of advanced technologies. For instance, some reports mention the discovery of metallic objects or strange materials that do not match any known substances. Could these artifacts have been left behind by an advanced civilization, or could they be the remnants of an extraterrestrial presence on Earth? Beyond the possibility of an ancient civilization, there is also the intriguing prospect that Antarctica may hold answers to questions about humanity's earliest origins. Could the continent have been the site of the first human migrations, long before the rise of known civilizations? Some researchers point to the geological evidence of ancient riverbeds and lakes as signs that Antarctica may have once been a fertile land capable of supporting early human life. The discovery of such evidence would not only rewrite the history of human migration, but also challenge many of the assumptions we have made about the origins of our species. At the same time, the increasing frequency of reports about anomalous electromagnetic activity in Antarctica adds another layer of intrigue to the continent's mysteries. Several expeditions have recorded strange energy patterns emanating from deep within the ice sheets, which some believe could be indicative of advanced technology or even extraterrestrial activity. These unusual energy readings have been described as unnatural and out of place, especially considering the lack of human infrastructure in the area. Some researchers believe that these anomalies could be linked to an ancient power source hidden beneath the ice for millennia, while others suggest that the energy readings may be the result of some sort of extraterrestrial technology. The possibility of extraterrestrial involvement in Antarctica's mysteries is one of the most persistent and controversial theories surrounding the continent. Some believe that ancient alien civilizations may have visited Antarctica long before humans arrived, leaving behind artifacts and technologies that have remained hidden beneath the ice. This theory is supported by reports of strange, metallic objects found in the region, as well as sightings of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, by early explorers and scientists. While many of these claims remain unverified, they have captured the imagination of researchers and conspiracy theorists alike. Could Antarctica have been the site of an ancient alien base, or perhaps a place where extraterrestrial beings visited and left behind clues to their advanced technologies? As the mystery of Antarctica deepens, it is becoming increasingly clear that the continent is more than just a scientific curiosity or a remote outpost for resource extraction. It is a place that may hold the key to understanding the origins of life, the development of advanced civilizations, and even the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The potential for discovery in Antarctica is vast, and the unanswered questions continue to fuel both scientific inquiry and speculative theories. Whether the continent harbors ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial artifacts, or new scientific breakthroughs, the unfolding exploration of Antarctica promises to shape the future of humanity in ways we cannot yet imagine. In addition to its scientific and historical significance, Antarctica also plays a crucial role in the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century. As the effects of climate change become increasingly apparent, nations are beginning to vie for control over the continent's vast resources. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, was meant to ensure that Antarctica would remain a neutral zone for scientific research and prevent militarization or resource exploitation. However, with the increasing demand for rare earth minerals, fossil fuels, and freshwater, the continent has become a target for countries seeking to secure access to these precious resources. The melting of the ice sheets due to global warming has only intensified these tensions as more land becomes accessible for exploration and exploitation. This geopolitical scramble for Antarctica's resources has the potential to ignite conflicts between nations, as well as raise ethical concerns about the environmental impact of such exploitation. The future of Antarctica is thus a complex and multifaceted issue, one that involves not only scientific discovery, but also political, economic, and environmental considerations. As nations push for greater access to the continent, the question arises, what should be the ethical framework for exploring and exploiting Antarctica's hidden treasures? Should the continent remain a pristine, protected zone for scientific inquiry, or should its vast resources be tapped to address the world's growing demand for raw materials? The answers to these questions will shape the future of Antarctica and, by extension, the future of humanity itself. In conclusion, Antarctica is not just a frozen wasteland at the bottom of the world. It is a land full of secrets, mysteries, and untold potential. From the ancient fossils and evidence of a once thriving ecosystem to the bizarre, unexplained anomalies beneath the ice, Antarctica is a place that continues to captivate and intrigue those who seek to understand its past and its future. Whether it is the discovery of ancient civilizations, the potential for extraterrestrial artifacts, or the key to solving humanity's most pressing challenges, Antarctica represents a frontier of exploration that holds answers to questions far beyond what we can imagine. As the ice continues to melt and the continent is revealed to the world, the mysteries of Antarctica will no doubt continue to unfold, offering new insights into the history of our planet and the possibilities of life in the universe. The exploration of Antarctica continues to captivate the imagination of scientists, historians, and adventurers alike. As the cold, unyielding continent begins to thaw, it brings with it the promise of discoveries that could change the trajectory of human understanding. For years, Antarctica was considered a remote, inhospitable land, one that lacked the allure of more temperate regions. However, as new technologies enabled deeper exploration, a growing number of anomalies and strange phenomena suggest that the continent might hold secrets far beyond the conventional understanding of history and geology. The potential for uncovering unknown civilizations, extraterrestrial technology, and ancient wisdom buried beneath the ice is increasingly seen as not just a theoretical possibility, but a very real prospect that continues to gain traction among those brave enough to dig deeper into the mysteries of Antarctica. One of the most fascinating aspects of Antarctica's unexplored potential is the idea that the continent may be hiding evidence of long-forgotten civilizations. As studies of the continent's geology have progressed, many scientists have begun to question the assumption that Antarctica has been entirely inhospitable for millennia. Instead, there is mounting evidence suggesting that the region was once home to life forms, including human-like beings, in an era long before the continent's transformation into a frozen wasteland. These claims, though controversial, are supported by numerous discoveries that challenge the prevailing view of Antarctica's past. The fossilized remains of trees, ancient plants, and even dinosaurs have been uncovered in Antarctica's rock layers, all pointing to a once-temperate climate that could have sustained complex life forms. These fossil records paint a picture of a continent vastly different from the ice-covered wilderness it is today, one that was once teeming with life, rich in flora and fauna, and capable of sustaining civilizations. The idea of an ancient civilization thriving in Antarctica is bolstered by the discovery of unusual structures buried beneath the ice. Using advanced imaging technologies, scientists have identified massive, geometric formations that appear to defy natural geological processes. These structures, which some describe as pyramid-like or even resembling ancient temples, have raised questions about their origin and purpose. While many mainstream scientists have dismissed these formations as natural ice formations or the result of tectonic processes, others argue that their precise geometry and unusual shape strongly suggest they may have been intentionally built. If these formations are indeed man-made, it would imply that an advanced civilization existed in Antarctica long before recorded history. The implications of this theory are profound, as it suggests that Antarctica may have been home to a culture or society whose knowledge and achievements were lost to time, possibly due to some form of cataclysmic event that caused the continent to freeze. While the idea of an ancient Antarctic civilization remains speculative, the evidence for its existence continues to mount. Among the most intriguing findings are the strange, metallic objects that have been discovered in the region. Some of these objects appear to be made from materials not found in nature, suggesting that they could be the remnants of an advanced civilization or even the product of extraterrestrial technology. These artifacts, many of which are described as metallic in nature, have been found in ice cores in remote regions of Antarctica. While some researchers have dismissed these discoveries as hoaxes or misidentified natural objects, others point to the possibility that these items represent remnants of a long-lost civilization with knowledge far beyond what we know today. Could Antarctica have once been a hub of technological innovation, with advanced machines, tools, and knowledge that were lost when the continent was abandoned or buried beneath ice? Compounding the mystery of Antarctica's past are the anomalous energy readings that have been recorded during various scientific expeditions. In many areas of the continent, researchers have detected strange electromagnetic activity, which some believe could be linked to underground structures or hidden technologies buried deep beneath the ice. These energy anomalies, which are often described as unnatural, are puzzling because they occur in areas where there are no human-made sources of energy. Some scientists believe that these energy signatures could be the result of advanced energy-generating systems left behind by an ancient civilization. Others speculate that the energy may come from some form of extraterrestrial technology hidden for millennia beneath the continent's ice sheets. The presence of such anomalies raises further questions about what lies beneath Antarctica and whether the continent could have once been the site of advanced technology far beyond what we can comprehend. The possibility that Antarctica could have been the site of extraterrestrial activity is another facet of the continent's allure. Some researchers have suggested that the energy anomalies and strange artifacts found in the region could be evidence of an extraterrestrial presence on Earth. According to these theories, ancient aliens may have visited Antarctica thousands or even millions of years ago, leaving behind remnants of their technology and knowledge. Some proponents of this idea point to the peculiar formations and metallic objects found in the ice, suggesting that they could be the result of alien visitors or even a long-lost alien colony that once existed on Earth. The idea of extraterrestrial involvement in Antarctica's ancient past is further supported by the reports of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, seen in the skies above the continent. While these sightings remain unexplained, they continue to fuel speculation that there is more to Antarctica's history than meets the eye. However, the extraterrestrial hypothesis is not universally accepted. Many scientists argue that the evidence for alien involvement in Antarctica is circumstantial at best, and that the strange artifacts and energy anomalies can be explained by natural phenomena. Despite these objections, the possibility of extraterrestrial influence continues to intrigue those who believe that Earth's history is far more complex than the mainstream narrative suggests. If Antarctica was once a hot spot for alien activity, the question arises, what knowledge or technology did these extraterrestrials leave behind, and could it be rediscovered in the future? While the mysteries of Antarctica's ancient past remain largely speculative, the ongoing exploration of the continent continues to yield fascinating discoveries. As satellite technology and radar systems advance, scientists are able to peer deeper beneath the surface of the ice, uncovering features and structures that were once hidden from view. Recent surveys have revealed the presence of massive underground lakes and rivers, which may provide further clues about the continent's ancient environment and the possibility of life existing there in the distant past. In addition to the potential for ancient civilizations, these subglacial lakes could harbor microbial life, offering researchers an opportunity to study life forms that have evolved in isolation for millions of years. The discovery of such life would not only revolutionize our understanding of biology, but could also have profound implications for the search for life elsewhere in the universe. Beyond the potential for ancient civilizations and extraterrestrial artifacts, Antarctica is also a critical area of study for understanding the Earth's climate history. The continent's ice sheets serve as a natural archive of the planet's past climate conditions, offering insights into how the Earth's climate has changed over millions of years. By studying ice cores from Antarctica, scientists can reconstruct temperature trends, atmospheric composition, and even the effects of volcanic activity on the climate. This research is invaluable for understanding the causes of climate change and predicting future trends. As the world grapples with the impacts of global warming, the study of Antarctica's ice sheets has never been more important. What the continent can reveal about the Earth's past may hold the key to understanding how to mitigate the effects of climate change in the future. In addition to its environmental significance, Antarctica has also become a geopolitical focal point. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, established the continent as a demilitarized zone dedicated to scientific research. However, with the growing interest in the region's resources, particularly its vast reserves of minerals, oil, and freshwater, there's increasing pressure to reconsider the terms of the treaty. Countries such as China, Russia, and the United States have all expressed interest in securing access to Antarctica's resources, and the continent has become a battleground for political influence. As climate change continues to open up previously inaccessible areas of Antarctica, the scramble for resources could lead to tensions between nations, with the potential for conflict over territorial claims and exploitation rights. The potential for conflict over Antarctica's resources has prompted calls for greater international cooperation and stronger governance to protect the continent's fragile environment. The pressure to exploit the continent's resources is growing, but so too is the recognition of the importance of preserving Antarctica as a global commons for scientific research and environmental protection. The question remains, how can the world balance the desire for economic gain with the need to safeguard the unique and fragile ecosystem that exists in Antarctica? As the mystery of Antarctica's ancient past continues to unfold, it is clear that the continent is far more than just a remote wilderness. It is a place where the past and the future collide, where the secrets of an ancient civilization may still lie buried beneath the ice, where extraterrestrial knowledge may be waiting to be uncovered, and where the planet's future may be shaped by the resources that lie beneath its frozen surface. The mysteries of Antarctica are far from solved, and as exploration continues, new discoveries will undoubtedly emerge that challenge our understanding of the world and the universe. What lies beneath the ice remains one of the most tantalizing and profound questions in modern science, and the answers may hold the key to unlocking the greatest mysteries of our past and our future. As the mystery of Antarctica unfolds with each new expedition and technological advancement, it becomes increasingly clear that this remote continent is more than just a scientific curiosity. Antarctica, often viewed as a land of ice and snow, is beginning to reveal its potential as a key to understanding both Earth's ancient history and humanity's future. With a growing body of evidence suggesting the existence of lost civilizations, alien artifacts, and even the key to unlocking the planet's environmental secrets, the frozen continent is rapidly transforming from an unexplored wilderness into a frontier that may offer profound revelations about our past, our planet, and possibly even extraterrestrial influences on Earth. The question that lingers in the minds of many is, what is Antarctica hiding beneath its vast ice sheets? And what do these secrets mean for us today? One of the most compelling aspects of Antarctica's allure is the ongoing discovery of ancient geological formations that suggest the continent was once far more temperate than it is today. In the past, mainstream science held a simple narrative. Antarctica has been frozen for millions of years, isolated from the rest of the world due to continental drift. However, the discovery of ancient plant and animal fossils in Antarctica's remote areas challenges this narrative and suggests that, at some point in Earth's distant past, the continent was home to lush forests, diverse ecosystems, and an environment far more hospitable to life than the frozen wasteland we know today. The fossils of giant ferns, coniferous trees, and even the remains of dinosaurs found in Antarctica provide compelling evidence that the continent was once located closer to the equator in a much warmer climate. These fossilized plants and animals tell a story of a time when Antarctica was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, and the harsh ice sheets that now cover the land had not yet formed. For centuries, these fossil discoveries were written off as anomalies. But modern geological evidence is increasingly supporting the theory that Antarctica's climate was once temperate. Satellite imagery and seismic studies of the land beneath the ice reveal vast networks of ancient rivers, lakes, and volcanic activity, suggesting that the continent was not only habitable, but possibly even thriving with life. The most fascinating aspect of these findings is that they offer a glimpse into a world that existed long before humanity appeared on the planet. Could this ancient world have been home to a civilization, or perhaps multiple civilizations, whose rise and fall have been lost to the passage of time? And if so, what traces of this lost history remain beneath the ice? These questions have intrigued researchers for decades and continue to fuel theories about the possibility of an ancient, advanced civilization existing on Antarctica. Beyond the discovery of fossils, scientists have also been uncovering strange anomalies in the ice and landforms beneath the continent's surface. Using radar and seismic imaging, researchers have detected large, symmetrical structures buried deep beneath the ice, some of which appear to have geometric precision.